Let's talk about 3 skills you need for perfect striking. No secrets, just good information and better golf strikes. Oh yes, that is an arrow. These are 3 skills that will guarantee better striking. They're 3 skills just used by better players. Even if they don't articulate that they're doing it to you, they are. These are things good players are doing. And these are also based on patterns that I see amateurs just struggling with day in, day out, but they're not tackling. So the 3 points are, because there's no secrets, the 3 points we're going to tackle and then show you the drills later on of how to tackle them. First point is loft control. So your control to deliver the right amount of loft, subject to what loft's on that club, is huge for better striking and worse striking. Number 2 is low point control. So where that club gets to its lowest point on the downswing, before, under, or but after the ball. And the 3rd point is horizontal contact. Think heel and toe strike, so moving along the face this way. If you can control these 3 points, if you've got some skills to work on these 3 points, your golf, your scores will get better. Let's start with loft control. So the clubs you use, each club you use, have loft, so the angle of the face, the bend back of the face. Now there is a static loft, so the loft that it sits at address, that's the loft you kind of begin with, or if you put it in a vise. But there's also a thing called dynamic loft. So when you come down and hit the ball, where has the loft moved to? Is it the same as where you started? Is it less or is it more? And the pattern we see from better players is they actually deliver less loft than the given club on their irons. This is much more of an iron-based video. Some of this will translate over onto drivers as well. But for this part, this is definitely very iron-based, because a driver you actually add loft, but the irons, you're de-lofting. Now, the issue with golfers when they do not de-loft, which is the most common problem, like loads don't de-loft their irons. Even with great setups in really good positions, they get in to hit the ball and they're actually now delivering more loft. The trouble with that skill is when the ball is on the ground, trying to deliver more loft, bearing in mind there's a bottom of this club, makes it really hard to hit up the face enough. So what happens is we tend to get low points a bit early, which we're going to come to low points, and we get the strikes coming out the bottom of the club. Static loft, if I add more loft as I come to hit the ball, there's a good chance it's going to be really hard if the ball's on the ground, and the tighter the lie gets, the harder this gets, that I'm not going to get up the face. Where if I'm de-lofting, taking loft off, so if I take loads of loft off, I'm easily hitting up that face. So controlling your loft as you hit the ball, which people often think more as shaft lean, is absolutely key skill for hitting better strikes. Now, really simple drill. I've got a dot here at the top of my club. This is used for my launch monitor, but you can draw this on, and I do with like pens, any kind of washable pen. I use like a whiteboard pen to put it on the top here for students. And what you're going to do with this dot at the top of the club is you're actually going to try and hit the ball with this dot. You're going to try and feel like you're hitting it with the top of the club. And what you're going to learn pretty quick is angling the club back, trying to hit with that dot at the top when the ball's on the floor is not going to work. You're going to have to learn how to angle that club down, get more shaft lean, control the loft. And for lots of people, what really clicks for you to get hitting with that dot more often is controlling this loft as it moves around your body. So if you're someone who gets somewhere near first parallel and the face is anywhere near pointing up at the sky, that is adding more loft. If you're someone who gets to the top of your backswing with a lot of hinge in this wrist and the toe of the club is pointing down at the ground more, that is adding loft. If that doesn't come out, all those angles of twisting the club basically this way around the shaft, where people think that's called open, what it is predominantly is it adds loft, because people tend not to hit the ball at right angles to the right when they strike it. So they hit it quite straight-ish with curves. They move the handle back like this to straighten the face up. But now they've added loads of loft. We want that face turning slightly this way on the backswing. When it gets up to the top of the backswing, we want it toe come shooting out towards our head, a bit more flatter lead wrist. The more you can work that face down, the better chance you'll have of hitting it with your dot. Grab yourself a medium iron. I've got a 9 here, 8, 7, anything with a bit of loft. Practice turning that loft down to the ground more. You're going to feel it in your wrist. So straight as you take that club away, feel like it's starting to rotate down, and see how easy it feels to try and hit with the top of the club more than the bottom, rather than these kind of added loft angles. And what's going to happen if you deliver the loft in a much more constructive way, you're not only going to hit it straighter, you're not only going to strike it better, because you're going to get it more 2-3 grooves up the face more consistently, what you're going to do is hit the ball further. Yeah, further. Do you know why it's going to go further? Because obviously each one of your clubs have a different loft. The lower the loft gets on that club, the more chance you've got of sending it a further distance. So if you have, for me here, a 9 iron, I deliver the loft of an 8 iron because I'm not very good at controlling the loft, feeling like I'm hitting with this dot, then my irons are going to go too short. This is huge, great starting point. Point number 2 is low point control. So your control of that lowest point of the golf swing. So are you bottoming the club out before, kind of near the ball, at the ball, after the ball? Where is the lowest point of this arc of your swing? And when it comes to hitting good iron shots from the ground, you want the lowest point of your swing actually in front of the ball. You will start interacting with the ground, believe it or not, kind of just before the ball, subject to the lie. Get onto the ball, obviously right loft, and then your lowest point will be after. This is often due to deflection as well. When you hit the ball, the club deflects down, sending it that bit lower again. So lots of people often relate the idea of hitting what we call ball then turf, so ball then ground strikes, much more into thinking about going from right to left. And where there is an element of moving left and getting everything left to hit the ball, one of the big needle shifters for improving low point control, controlling how down to level to up you are on the ball, is actually what we call vertical force. So you pushing in and then pushing out of the ground and getting out of the ground to hit the ball. And one of the common things we see from amateurs, it's not that they don't create vertical forces, often they do, but they do it far too late, meaning they're still too much down connected to the ground when they hit the ball, creating often crashes, not very nice strikes, those thin ones where they hit the ground first, ball bounces up off the ground's where it just duffs and digs. Because I have seen golfer after golfer think about going left and left only, and what happens is we start seeing these tilts. When they start going heavy left, they start recovering with upper body, and this is just awful for low point control. So if I can get you to start thinking low point control more as this force, a jumping, pushing down and jumping up, you're going to hit some better strikes. And this drill is so good for this. It's a little abstract, so stick with me, but if you give it a go, honestly, it changes the way people think about hitting better strikes. So one of the patterns we see from better players is we see a lead foot flare at address. Okay, so we're going all the way back to setup. So lead foot points out, say 20, 15, 25 degrees pointed out. Not sure, I'm not caring how much flare you've got, as long as you've got some. I see lots of amateurs with quite a straight, kind of 7 or 12 degree lead turned out lead foot. Get it up near 20. Then what they do on the backswing, good players tend to, as they make their backswing, they tend to push their heel actually towards the target. They start to take a bit of that foot flare out as they turn. Then as they start their downswing, they turn into that solid lead side of that lead foot. They literally load into that. And then as they come to hit the ball, what we see is lead knee and lead foot actually moves out. They actually turn their lead foot out. So foot flare is so killer for you improving those ground reaction forces and improving that low point control. So the drill is I want you to start with your toe towards the target, meaning if there's a straight line here, my heel is further away than my toe, foot flared out. Then I want you to reduce that foot flare, and then I want you to increase it. And I want you to feel like the spikes in your shoes are actually turning, ripping that grass a little bit. So let's have a go at that. I'm gonna have foot turned out, get my heel leveling up to toe, so heel goes slightly towards target, and then I'm gonna feel like I stay in that straight foot to then let it turn out. So you are going to let that foot move, and it's going to feel really insecure because so many golfers feel like they should be just so kind of planted on that lead foot. A couple of things to bear in mind with lead foot: depending on what shoes you've got, people's foot is moving a lot in that shoe. So even if the shoe doesn't move, their foot is moving in the shoe. You just don't see it. And plenty of good golfers, if you actually watch closely enough, you'll see their lead foot literally turn out and sometimes jump back. And that is that ground reaction force trying to control low point. I've got a great little hack for this as well, which I'll show you at the end of the video, just a bonus tip to help you feel that you're pushing in the ground in a really constructive way. It's such a simple cheat. So lead foot turned out, straighten lead foot up some. So you don't need to turn the heel that way, but you're going to straighten it up from where it started, and then stay in that lead foot straighter for a split second to then let it turn out to come through. And it's this staying in that loads it, and the turning out of you moving out of it that's going to move that low point control away from this tendency that amateurs have, which is just to stay in that lead foot and duff it. Honestly, you want low point control, you've got to get some up coming out of your lead foot at the right time, and you are going to start ripping them every time. If you like the information in this video and it helps you, hit that like button, really helps me out. Also, don't be afraid to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter, link down below. I go in depth more into all things golf, more than we do here on YouTube, where I try to keep it as simple as possible. Come and join the learning community. So let's now talk about toe hits. So at this end, center to heel strikes. How can we control this axis of strike? So one of the most common problems I see with controlling strike along the horizontal, if you like, is golfers actually getting too squished, too squashed up to the ball, and they're not having enough room to strike the ball, and then they make two choices. So I start in a good position. It's often people think they start too close or too far away, and that's what causes toe or heel strikes. Like, there might be some cases of that, but that's very rare generally. It's much more to do with the fact, like, that might facilitate, but their choice to strike it is about the choice they make as they come down and hit the ball in relationship to if they have pushed closer or further away. So meaning I see lots of golfers coming in to hit the ball, and they're actually pushing far too hard with this foot, not this foot, and that gets your hips rotating, but it moves them up towards the ball. So this way, now I can commit, keep my arms out, commit out, and I'm going to shank it or hit it at the heel. Or what we see most golfers do is they translate their hips this way towards the ball, and then they realize they're outside of it. So then we start seeing the crumpled up impacts, and this often gets them middle to toes and heels, like it's an array of hits. And also low point control gets so tough when they do that. So it's this idea of moving that pelvis up this way that then makes it so compromising to hit the ball. Where what we see from better players on the downswing, they're pushing much harder with this foot than this foot, which actually gets their hips translating, so they're also rotating, but slightly away from the ball, which is why you often see these pictures kind of out here with pros. So you see amateurs translating their hips, pushing harder with this foot this way, and then they try and get this pro-like look. It doesn't match up. They need to pull in and bend to try and compromise that hit. And the biggest problem with this is amateurs are not as skilled as pros. They can't pull this off very often. We get a variation of hits. I do see more toes than heels, but we can see scattergun hits, middle to toes, middle to heels. This idea will help all those players. So first drill I want you to practice is I want you to set up to your ball where you've got the club in the perfect spot with the ball, so you're the right distance. But then I want you just to push it so it's lined up with the neck of the club. So feel like it's lined up with the neck. So if you return now, you're literally going to shank it like there or down here. But I want you to hit a few shots from here where you feel like you're creating space. And if you feel like you have to pull your lead foot back to do this, don't worry about that, because that's you pushing harder in that lead foot. That's good for getting your hips rotating and backwards. So you're going to start out the neck of the club, but we're not going to hit it there. You're actually, so let me just make that clearer. You're going to address in the right distance, your regular distance, so the middle, then you're going to move it to the neck. And now I'm going to try and hit by creating that space. See my lead foot jump back? My lead foot tends to do that a bit more anyway, but I'm doing that more in this drill because I'm trying to create space to line up to hit that ball. Now for some golfers that's a little scary. If you're someone who does hit out the neck, they don't like doing that drill. So give that one a go, see how it sits. It works for a decent amount of people, but it certainly doesn't work for everyone. So if you want to try and work out strikes across toe and heel, try this one next. So you're going to use your lead foot, similar to what we've talked about in the trying to control low point part of this video. What you're going to do with your lead foot is you're going to make sure you're picking the heel up on the backswing. So let that heel just sneak up on the backswing. So as you make your backswing, let that heel sneak up. What this is going to do is help you load into this lead foot. And then on the downswing, feel like you're really slamming it back down on the ground. So you're basically going there and then down. And what this is doing, that slamming down, is basically you loading and then pushing out will be the slam, which is going to create this space to allow you to come through and stop having to adjust with your arms. This one, you got to remember, this is like so in golf. Watson, Nicholas, so many good golfers lifted lead heel and slammed it down. It somehow got taught out of golf, like huge mistake. I don't know where it went. Let's start bringing it back a bit. I'm setting up regular shot. I'm going to lift my heel on the backswing and then slam it down on the downswing. Really trying to get the feeling of space. And that one I actually caught much cleaner because my vertical force jumped up and went earlier. So it changed my low point. So it kind of bleeds with the other drill. These two weapons are fantastic for moving strike from the middle to the heel to the toe. Creating that space to actually strike the ball is what's going to allow you to control that strike this way and make you hit more greens. If we can get you striking your irons like we are in this video more consistently, your scores are going to come down. Oh, that's a rip. Bonus tip. Who wants a bonus tip? For those of you who've hung around for the bonus tip, here it is. This is so good. I do this with so many amateurs and it blows their heads off. Remember, if you like the information in this video, do sign up for my free newsletter, Weekly Tips, where we go more into depth on all subjects golf swing. In the fairway bunker, if you ever get a chance to get in here and practice, it's great. Vertical forces in here for plucking that ball up are so good. Also, what you can do in here, moving this foot like we want you to, like the drill earlier, is much easier to feel. Like it's really because you've got more movement in this foot. So hitting a series of shots. So I've got a wedge here, anything that gets you over the lip. If I was further back, it's not a very deep bunker, I can hit sevens. Like use a medium iron if you can to do this. When you're trying to pluck it, like literally pluck it. If you're not very good at verticals, this will be your most horrible shot. So getting in here, feeling that foot drill. So getting up, it's going to allow you to pluck it, move it forwards. Not only are you going to improve your bunker shot, like fairway bunker shots, you're going to improve your strike on the grass. And this is an extreme, so this one is like you're plucking it. So if you're not very good at catching good strikes, you hit the ground first. Honestly, this is a killer little drill. Now, if you want to find out how to hit your driver better, maybe check out this video here. It's got all the information for better driver strikes.